Welcome back to our home. This is going to be a bit of a catch-up episode. I have put down my phone for a little bit over the summer. I wasn't planning on it. We'll come back to that. But I decided to do a little catch-up here on what is happening in our lives, a couple of exciting projects that we have starting up, what's happening in the garden, what we're deciding about school for next year. And if you hear some tools or banging, we do have something exciting happening, which I will tell you about. This is going to be a completely listenable episode if you just want to do something else. There is nothing really to see. It'll just be me sweating with my coffee. Consider this a podcast and put it on while you do something else, and I will just talk through what is happening in life right now. I am Kezia, and normally my goal on the internet is to make lower footprint living, sustainable family living feel a bit less complicated and a bit more budget friendly, which it often doesn't feel. You can hit subscribe for those weekly-ish videos on that kind of thing, but this is just a family life catch-up for a little of the behind the scenes, what is happening in our life. Our plan for this summer was a really restful staycation summer. We have traveled far too much over the last few years, both in terms of personal energy, but in terms of environmental impact, and we just didn't want to go anywhere. Also, that wasn't where our budget was to take a big holiday, so we were so happy to stay home. We have done that. What was meant to happen alongside staying home was a really restful summer, and that part didn't happen. So this is some of why I decided to stay off social media. We were supposed to have 2 weeks of staycation time as a family, and for various reasons, family in town and Jared's graduation and a wedding that took a lot more planning than we thought it would, a lot of different happy things, we ended up getting 3.5 days of family holiday, family staycation together. I cried a little bit because after the year we have had, where nothing bad has happened, but it's just been a lot. We spent 6 months of the year apart. It felt like a lot. We really needed that family downtime, and we then didn't get it. So after the tears, we made the most of our 3.5 days. It was beautiful. We took the kids to the beach. We had slow days. It was wonderful. And I realized somehow I need to make the summer feel a little bit calmer. And I just decided for the rest of the summer, probably I'm going to put down my phone. I have done this every year for a long time. I've actually taken a big chunk of time off from social media, and I wasn't planning on doing it this year, but here we are. It was what we needed. And I don't believe in using social media till it gets to a really bad point addiction-wise or mental health-wise, and then going off it and then coming back on it and then getting to a bad point. I think we need to find a sustainable relationship with it. My sustainable social media looks like taking a longer chunk each year. In 2021, I think, 2022, I took 8 months off social media. And it just was an experiment for me. I wanted to know what my life was like without it. It's one of my earliest videos, and there's bad light and bad sound, but you will get the gist of what I learned from that experience. It was very humbling to see how it actually affects my life in ways I really didn't think it did. And so I've just taken a break each year to kind of make sure I recalibrate and can keep reality and social media very separate and have a really clear perception of which is which. I wasn't planning on doing it this year, and here we are. I am sweating so much. I think it's about 30 degrees here, which is not that hot, but with no air conditioning and light pouring in through the windows, it is really hot. The last video I put up was my vlog of making dresses. So I decided to make these dresses completely from scratch, which I've never done before. But in our ongoing quest to not buy clothes and new clothes, and then we had a wedding and I wanted something sentimental but sustainable, and I had this idea that I would pull out my mum's sewing machine and make dresses from an old duvet cover. I then sat down with the sewing machine and went, what on earth am I doing? How did I think I could do this? But it happened, and we had the dresses, and you can see the whole process. I'll link it below. I've spent the last few weeks since making those dresses thinking about what else I can sew and what I'm going to sew next. I actually just did an interview right before this about the dresses with a news publication, so I will link it below if that story comes to anything. But it was really fun to talk about because that is why I did it. Not for the conversation, but for the bigger picture, the need for sustainable clothing. So that was fun. Then we had Jared's graduation, which was really actually a big moment. We moved to England for him to study at King's College in London, and this was the end of it. So we watched him walk the stage. It's been a really interesting 5 years with me being sole provider and majority provider and a whole different family dynamic, and working out how we do non-traditional gender roles in a home and what that's looked like, and something we've really wanted to push through, which is a whole different discussion for another time. But it's been a very interesting 5 years, but I am glad it is done. And then it was into another family wedding. So shopping for both these family weddings, I knew I wanted everything to be either stuff we had or secondhand. The dress code for the second one was fun and formal. Now, I'm just not a fun person. I'm like, get stuff done. What's the function of this? What are we achieving? I'm not super fun. But I wanted to do the dress code. So I searched for dresses. You have to just look early if you're going to do stuff from charity shops. And so this is what I did. Every time I would go to the shops, I would flick through the dresses and I just didn't find anything really fun. And then I found this dress that was fun to me. It was like a bright pink, not the color I would wear, checked pattern. And I got it home and okay, I'm really proud of this because I think it was a big deal for me. And I think it's just a big deal on the journey of shopping more sustainably. So I straight away texted a picture of the dress to my sister. And by this point I was already doubting it. It was short, it was bright, it was pink, like just so many things I don't do. But it did say fun to me and it spoke to me, which is why it came home with me with a return policy for £10. And I texted it to her and I said, I bought this, but I'm thinking maybe not. And she said, yeah, I don't think that's the dress. We all have that person we text things to. She's my do we like these clothes person. She said, it's the right move. I don't think that's the dress for you. And I plan to take it back. Well, it sat in my wardrobe for a couple of days as I watched the return policy tick by. And I kind of did like it. So I kept putting it back on again. And I realized I do like this dress. The person I trust so much about clothing and style says maybe not, but I like this. And actually, that is what I want to be the thing that decides what I wear. So we blew through the return policy time and I decided to keep the dress. And for me, that was a really proud moment because that's how I want my style to come about. And I've spent years and years looking to fast fashion and magazines and what other people are wearing to tell me what style I should be, to tell me what I should feel good in. And this time I went, not gonna do it. It is a vintage dress, it's not current. It definitely wasn't what the Gen Z people at the wedding were wearing, but I loved it. I felt great in it. It was fun to me. So that was a moment for me. And then to kind of keep everyone coordinated, one of my kids was a flower girl, but the other kids, I made bow ties. I made bright pink bow ties for my boys that matched my dress. I sewed them. They're really easy to make. A bow tie is such an easy way to make an outfit exciting. So I bought bright pink fabric that matched my dress. I also got earrings from Vinted to tie it together. I have very few earrings, but I wanted something fun and formal. So I found these earrings on Vinted. There are so many things we don't think to buy secondhand. And maybe earrings is one of them for some people, but there are so many earrings for so little secondhand. So I got these great earrings. I wore shoes that I wore to my wedding 13 years ago. That was my outfit. We did the weddings fully secondhand. I was really happy about it. Just showing my family is so happy to wear used clothes. We don't need new things. It felt great. So those were our big dress up summer events, 2 weddings and a graduation. And we did them with no new clothes, nothing new, only secondhand and homemade things, which made me so happy. I have been doing very little in the garden apart from watching the weeds grow and harvesting beautiful plums and tomatoes and green beans and greens. There's so much to harvest, but when the food grows, so do the weeds. But the summer has just meant we haven't been able to get out there that much, and I've had to just let that go and be thankful for what we have been able to do and that we can enjoy it even if we're not weeding as much as we should be. I got out to the bees, which it was a whole fiasco. A little while ago, they swarmed and I felt very guilty that I had not taken care of them enough and that they had swarmed when I should have split them. Then they swarmed, I ended up splitting them. I just felt like I'd made such a mess and failed them and done so badly with them. And I left them for a bit to just raise a new queen. I just left them. And I went back in and checked them and miraculously, well, not miraculously, it's what they do, but we have a queen in each hive. So they are small. One of the hives especially is small because it was one and it's been split 3 ways with one that went back into the wild and now we have 2 colonies. So we'll see how they do. We're feeding them, helping them as much as we can, but I felt so much shame about that. Bees are not a huge commitment. They take about an hour a week through the, 3 seasons that aren't winter in England. It's not that much, but I have just felt like we've had very little time and so I had not gone in and checked them. They're doing okay. The rest of the garden is happening. I'm beginning to just take notes of what I would do differently next year. Our goal with this 1/3 of an acre that is out there that I can see, but you can't see, out there, It's to grow as much of our own food as we can and raise as much as we can. We have our ducks out there, who will begin laying in the next few months. So exciting. But that's going to take learning year on year. So I'll do another video about what we've learned and what we would do differently and what we would keep the same. But I am making sure I write notes because I don't remember anything without writing notes. So the garden has been really on the back burner through the summer, but that's fine. We have to take what we can do and let the rest go. So the garden is very weedy, but growing us a lot of food. On to 2 projects that are happening, one offline, one online, one offline. The one that you can hear out there. When we lived in California until 2019, we renovated a big art studio into an Airbnb. It was so much fun. It was a sustainable holiday rental. It was so fun. We loved having guests come through. We loved the renovation. We loved the Airbnb side of it. And we were really sad to let it go when we moved to the UK. It was fun to put it together and then to host it in a way that had a lower footprint. We loved it. It was beautiful. We actually still have a couple of art pieces hanging in it that they held on to, and we said, you can keep them, but you can't sell them. And if we ever want them back, can we have them back? So we still have this little attachment to the art studio rental, to the art studio Airbnb. And when we bought this house a year ago, it was not the plan to do anything like that again. We were really looking for a unicorn house, and it ended up having this little office in the back garden. And so we've been waiting for a while to have the money and different things to start renovating the studio. And we are going to do the same thing again here, which I'm excited about. It has made the summer more full. I've been running around because we're trying to do as much secondhand as we can. So grabbing a secondhand toilet and a secondhand basin and all of the different pieces that we need to renovate to get them secondhand as much as possible. So I've been lugging someone's old toilet, things like that, because we want to use what's already in circulation. And that is happening right now. We are taking this studio, we're taking this little office. It had electricity and cold water, but we're changing some walls around, different things. And hopefully sometime in the autumn, it will be ready as a rental, which I'm so excited about. We really loved it before, and I am excited to get to do it again. Again, trying to do it as sustainably as possible, have it be as much of an eco-let as we can make it. So it's a fun journey to go on. That's the real life project. The online real life, but online project is something I've wanted to do for a long time. Again, backtrack to California, and a few years into having an online world, if you listen to some of the experts talk about things to do if you have an online space, people quickly tell you to create an online course. This is what you should be doing to monetize your space. And so years and years ago, back there, I went, okay, I need to create a course. This is the next thing I need to do. The thing I really wanted to create after doing recipe books and different things and workshops and baking for local bakeries, I really wanted to help people with food budgeting. So I put together this course. I didn't listen to what a lot of people say, which is don't put much in the course because it will overwhelm people. But I was like, no, if I'm going to charge people a course price, I want everything they could ever need to bring their grocery budget down, and recipes and tutorials and workbooks and guides and all these different things. We'll put it all in. But we created a course. We did that. But after the first launch, I went, I don't like this. I don't like having it wasn't a high price for a course, and I did a money back guarantee so that if you didn't save the cost of the course on your food over 3 months, I would give money back. But it never fully felt like me. It felt like me following what other people told me I should be doing and following what the next progression of having an online space should be. So I didn't keep selling it. The content I was so excited about. It's been our own journey of how we have always eaten below a national average on food, and how we've pulled it down and down and down, and how we've helped other people save money on food. But I wanted to do it in a different format. So I've been waiting for a long time to do this, and I just haven't had the moment. I've been slowly chipping away at it, and I'm pulling together a much cheaper, non-course format, just book and workbook, ebook and workbook. I don't have a name or a tagline yet, but taking people through the process to feel powerful with their grocery budget, to have a grocery budget number that works for them, and then feel powerful to implement it in daily life. We'll get all that wording down, but that is what it is, which is a lot of what I share online and on Instagram, but I wanted to be able to take people through all in one place, all of everything from determining your perfect grocery budget to how to do it with children and snacking and different ways of eating and different forms of meal planning that work for your family and how to go to the shops and how to develop these rhythms and routines so that it becomes second nature and that we can pull down the spending when we need to and different things like that. So it's everything we need to get the right number and feel empowered to stick to that number in daily life, but eating the way that we as individuals want to eat. So not meal plans, because that's not sustainable for real life. We have to actually figure these things out for our real life. So it is a ebook and then workbook. So you can actually, there's prompts to write down things, and there's going to be a few different levels that you can dive into it. Just like some weekly prompts and questions, or really dive into the numbers. So different ways to do it, but I'm putting this together. I'm not going to put a release time on it because if I do, I will fail the release time because my time to work on it is so few and far between. But that is what I am chipping away at online because it's something that hasn't been stressful to us for the last 8 years. Constant work to stay within our food budget, which is lower than the national average spend for our family size, while we're trying to do local and organic and all of these different things. So it is constant work, but it's not driving the anxiety that it used to drive. And I want that for everybody because with cost of living and the stress of daily life and time and all the pulls on us, it can be so stress inducing to eat on the budget we need to eat on. So I want to try and remove that for people as much as I can. And it is not going to be priced like a course because that never felt good to me, but it's what people said, and then it's what you have to do to cover the fees for the hosting, and didn't want to do that. So it will just be an ebook form. I still don't know what to charge for it. We'll get there. And there will be a discount for anyone who gets my emails. We'll try and I don't know. I got to cost it out and do it right, but a much lower, small ebook number rather than a big course cost. And then you'll just have all the material, there'll be no logging in to get anything. That is my goal. Keep it simple, but try and take people through the process as easily and simply, but holistically and helpfully as I possibly can. So I am loving chipping away at that and getting closer to having that done. And school. We took the last half of the summer term to trial education at home. It was a massive trial. Neither myself or my husband were educated at home. We both loved school. Our kids have loved school. So we're running away from nothing, but it was just something we began to think could benefit our kids and our family. We just didn't know. So we wanted to try it out and then feel powerful to either choose school as a great option or home education as a great option. But we just began to feel like we need to see both options before we make this choice. My one-line debrief on the experiment was the highs were so much higher and the lows were so much lower. The days it worked well were so good when we're crowding around the Rosetta Stone in London. I didn't know my son knew what the Rosetta Stone was, let alone would be excited to race through the British Museum and find it, but to share those moments together and to look at the jade carvings from the Shang dynasty in China and to do our maths together and then use it in daily life, and also learn to bake bread and make things in the garden at the same time and be involved with all parts of life, inside and outside, and friends, and go to a local farm and take care of their bees together and things like that. The highs were high. The lows were also very low. I had some really not fun moments feeling like this is too much for me. I can't do this. It's too much. And in those moments, I was ready to send my kids back to school and never think again. But I had to remind myself that in the pace of school, when we were in school and clubs and all the extracurricular everything and living quite far from where we go to school and different things like that, that was also really chronically stressing me out. So we kind of just finished the term victoriously and decided to not revisit that conversation for a little bit. So that is upcoming. My gut is that we will stick with it for a while, not as it being our final decision, but just in knowing I think there's still more to explore here. And I think a lot of people said, don't judge it too quickly and you'll find your rhythm. And I really did see that even in those 8 weeks, I learned a ton about myself and my kids and the way they learn from Starting at 9 is not a good idea. The kids need to do something else first. We need to get outside. We need to do something. We need to be active before we start. We need to start at 9:30 or 10. Just the little things like that, through to how to place things in the week and how flexible to be and what do I do with them and how much do they actually benefit from being on a screen for learning versus not. And I had leant towards not, and I think they actually need a little bit of the outside input feel of teaching on a screen, which, by the way, we love the Oak National Academy for that. We used that for history and it was brilliant. So I learned a lot in those 8 weeks, but not enough to feel like I would truly be making a good, educated decision about our path forward. So my gut is that we will continue for the short term and kind of see where we land, but we'll see. Watch this space. If you want to see the full video about it, it's up there where I dive into our full decision why and all of those kinds of things. That's up there. Thanks for sitting with me while I chat through life and our summer and while I sweat. We will be back to more regular videos. I have a couple more ready to go about saving seed and why I'm doing it. But if you want to stick around, I will put here the video that's really bad quality, but stick with it, on taking a break from social media and what it did for me when I did it a couple of years ago. I think it is still so relevant. And when the seed saving video is up, I will put that here. Hit subscribe if you want to follow along on the journey of lower impact family living, and I will see you in another video sometime soon.